Nath,
Mm-hmm.
what's your plan, if any, to apprehend Cromlich when you get in here?
I've got that wall of force. If I can bubble him, I will.
Okay.
If I get an opportunity.
Are you looking to create an opportunity to do that?
I mean, if he gets... By getting an opportunity, I mean I'm riding in the middle of the turtles to counterspell anyone that dispels the turtle magic.
Yeah.
And if he becomes within spell range, he's getting bubbled.
Okay. The difficulty of getting to Cromlich is pretty much every Doomguard would be willing to die for him. You're gonna have to go. You're gonna have to go through a lot of Doomguard to get to him, and it's a very bloody battle, hard fought. Neither of you come out of it unscathed, but we're not actually going to roll through a giant mass combat. This is supposed to be a role-playing session. God damn it! And eventually, the day is won, but it's a very bittersweet victory. There are a lot of dead on both sides, and the armory is effectively lost. Structurally, it came under the assault of a great number of mages and wizards. A lot of fires to be put out. Fortunately, most of the people in the ladies' ward, like most of the residents around the armory, have the resources to extinguish fires, so their stuff doesn't all burn down. And at the end of the day, Cromlich does not go quietly. And he fights to the death. He's killed in the fighting. The two of you are called over after the day is won by Arwen Swan's son. He's setting the Sons of Mercy out to secure the perimeter, make sure that any stragglers are apprehended. The Harmonium is actually taking up inside of the armory, taking control of the weapons therein. And after the fighting is won, most of the Sensates they scatter. They're done. Swan's son commends you both on fighting so bravely.
I think Mahogany's going to scatter with the Sensates too. Actually, rather than as soon as it's pretty clear that that they have control of this,
Okay.
we're heading out. I don't want to be congratulated. I don't want anything. I want to be very clear here. Our allies, we're not allied with the Harmonium.
Gotcha. You do get a lot of thank you notes from Sensates that say thank you for making me a turtle.
Yeah, I send them like a heart back.
Yeah, Nath, you and your... I mean, some of your Harmonium soldiers didn't make it. A few of them, unfortunately. But, yeah, Swan's son commends you and yours on fighting so bravely. He says he looks...
We couldn't let... Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I mean, we couldn't let that sort of fighting spill over into the actual city.
He says, no, that we could not. And now the most dangerous... the most dangerous aspect of this violence is over. The weapons of the Doomguard are secured.
Saren was killed in front of me. Poisoned somehow. I caught the two assassins, but don't know if we'll get anything out of them.
And all of the elation of the victory drains out of him instantly. Like, you just sucker punched this poor man. And he just says, come again.
He was killed. We were talking, I reported in. I believe he was poisoned, because I've seen poison before, but never on a man like him. Doesn't seem logical. I managed to magically capture both assassins. I have them under triple guard back at the barracks. I'm sorry. I know he was a friend of yours.
He says, yes, a very, very dear friend. I was looking forward to a new era of law and justice in Sigil, now that Nylesia's weeds have been plucked. And he just takes
I don't believe any higher ups in any of the factions, or anyone much higher up than you, from what I've heard, is still around.
He says that he's been getting conflicting reports in the days leading up to Hashkar's assassination. that he's not. He's had other things to attend to, especially inside of the Mercy Killers once Nylesia vanished. He asks whether Harmonium leadership on the Prime will be sending someone in to help keep things level-headed until a replacement for Saren can be selected.
I haven't had any contact with the Prime. I just got here.
And
I have a sending or two left. I can talk to my superiors.
Okay. He says, forgive me, I'm not sure what the procedure is in your faction for selecting leadership. He asks...
It's rank and file, but the political realities of the Prime and Sigil are different. So... it's a complicated question.
He asks whether or not you... and he... your guys are discussing this in one of the rooms inside the armory that he's taken as a command center for himself for the time being. He asks whether or not you think it would be prudent that they keep this under wraps for the time being. If word got out that Saren was killed during the fighting, it might energize other Doomguard or Free League forces around the city.
For now, I think we should probably... I don't think we should say anything until it's announced. That said, you don't need a degree in calculus to do the math right now. How many factals actually are alive, or at least not missing?
And yeah, he doesn't know.
By my count, maybe 2. I'm not 100% sure how many. There's 13 of these factions in the city.
There's 14 factions, but not all of them have factals. The Indepts, the Anarchists...
Well, Nath doesn't know.
Yeah.
Nath has no idea, so he's guessing.
Okay.
And the only ones I've heard aren't accounted for are, what, the Crazies, the Chaos Men, and... I don't know, I haven't heard anything about the Dusk Guard, but I believe they're quite secretive anyway. At any rate,
Okay.
no, I agree with that.
They love it. They love that dust.
He says he could use you on site here to finish securing the premises, after which they're going to begin the process of itemizing the weapons of the armory and taking them into Harmonium control.
I can work on that. I need to rest myself. I've spent most of my magical resources, but...
No, he has too. I mean, he's been fighting most of the day. I think Swan Sun is also a paladin. I'd have to look that up again, but I forget.
Yeah, I think he was. That sounds right.
He's actually named on this map. Or not this map, but the map of the prison. He says for the time being, then, since the unfortunate incident that's befallen Factal Saren, he'll liaison with you as far as dealings with the Harmonium.
All right. I still haven't gotten word from any of the other higher-ranking members that were out when I returned to the barracks.
All those higher-ranking members are here at the armory now, basically.
Okay.
So the time to confer with them would be now. So what are you talking with them about?
Mostly I'm interested in if there's any fighting elsewhere in the city that needs to be stopped, though hopefully a lot less violently than what happened here. Are there any other pockets of people still trying to just... I mean, at this point, Nath's thoughts are trying to... Now that we've taken down the worst of the fighting within the Clerk's Ward, the rest of the city still looks like a war zone. And so getting food, makeshift shelter for any buildings that were destroyed, and preventing any violence outside in the rest of the city is now his top concern.
As far as violence spilling out into the rest of the city, it's a major concern of the other Harmonium high-ups as well. There's this group calling themselves the Sod Killers that have been running around killing Sods. There's a lot of Indepts and Anarchists and kind of low-level, unaffiliated Doomguard, and of course Chaos Men, who are just taking advantage of the situation. There's rioting, looting, all that kind of stuff. Also, a considerable number of Doomguard who managed to flee the armory are probably going to now spill out into the city, and there will be havoc. So yeah, there's a lot of work still to be done. Their next task is to start organizing patrols for the major portions of the city. Get regular hardhead patrols back in action. So what role does Nath want to play in all that?
So Nath's opinion on that is that that's great, but given everything that's happened in the city, from his understanding over the last, year, the first thing the hardhead patrols can't be seen as thugs going in to beat heads. So he wants to make sure that all of the patrols... I mean, okay, stopping violence is a very high priority, but you also have to be bringing food and, clothing, shelter to any place that's been hit by this fighting. Like, they should be happy to see you when you enter the street, even if they don't agree with you philosophically. That needs to be the number one concern. We need to make sure that people don't see the hardhead patrols as hardhead patrols. They need to see them as members of the Harmonium trying to help them.
To that end, most of the hardheads you're talking to, that's not their job. That would be the concern of the Bleakers. Go ahead and roll Charisma Persuasion. Because you're talking to people you can't pull rank on at the moment.
19.
Ooh.
Is that a nat 20? Is that what I'm looking at there?
Are you...
It's a 19. Well, then we bring in the Bleakers.
Did you inform them at all that Saren has been killed yet?
No.
Okay. They do see the wisdom in that, though. A lot of these people were some of Saren's close companions, and Saren was of the opinion that this violence with the Indept was going too far ever since Dwath's raid on the Temple of Bahamut. So they do see the wisdom in that.
Then get a patrol of 100 people, get them over to the Bleakers, get whatever you can. I mean, we have an entire faction headquarters here. We can properly loot some coins, fill out the paperwork for it, and pay for the food.
So your suggestion is to use the armory as kind of a base of operations for rebuilding, basically.
I mean, yeah. I don't. There's the amount of money alone, like the amount of hard coin you're going to find in a faction. Like, I'm not even concerned about the resource costs, because even if we've destroyed a lot of the stuff, it's still gold. I mean, you can't actually destroy gold. So, yeah. I mean, my opinion is, okay, go pay the Bleakers as much as you need to get Bleaker, people with your patrols. Have them bring food. Have them bring shelter. Like, you can't just put the city under martial law right now. This will just happen again if you do.
And I mean, the captains you're speaking to definitely see the wisdom in that. So they're going to suggest that to Factal Saren when they return to the barracks. They think that course of action is very prudent indeed.
Well,
he can't say no.
And that's like, sounds good. All right, you guys let me know how that goes.
I'm looking over the leadership. Are there any of them who'd also been working with Allistwaft? Like any other members like myself that came back during any other high-ranking ones that came back during the fighting?
Make a perception check.
I think that's a 10.
A 10?
Yeah.
I mean, there's just a massive humanity here. There's a lot of smoke, a lot of rubble, a lot of people moving dead. And no, you don't spot anybody that was part of Dwath's outfit. You put out some feelers, and you make it known that if any of those people are seen, to get word back to you. But no, you don't see any on location at the moment. Anything else?
Then, okay. Well, at that point, I am going to take whatever... I'm going to figure out where in this armory the coin... They keep their coin. I'm going to take half of the guys that were turned into turtles, and I'm going to go over to the Bleakers and get some food.
Okay, so you're going to get that ball rolling right now?
Yep. While they're waiting for Saren to say yes or no. I mean, I'm a lieutenant. I can do it.
Riot. After a few hours, word starts filtering in that the day is won at the armory. The Sons of Mercy, Harmonium, and the Sensates have managed to take the armory. They've routed the Doomguard. Eli Cromlich has been killed. And many members of the Sons of Mercy start returning triumphantly. There's a lot of wounded and a lot of dead also coming in through the prison. I'm going to load up my single map again. And as promised, once Swan's son returns, you get word from your anarchist manservant that, I mean, the man's very busy. He's got a million things to do, but he's pulled his anarchist weight. He can get you in to speak.
All right. Is he going to come with me?
If you need him to.
I would rather he didn't.
You'd rather he didn't. Okay, then he'll just
Yeah.
then he can just quickly make the introduction and then bugger off.
Okay.
So Swan's son's room is very near to. Actually, no, belay that. He's taken the Factal's quarters at this point, which is on the other side of the entrance lobby, and it looks like he was in the process of moving a lot of his things in here, but that got interrupted when the fighting broke out. Are you disguised as anybody he would know?
I'm not disguised as anybody at all.
You're just walking in as Riot?
Yeah.
Okay. Still not 100% clear what that means on any given day. Like,
Yeah.
wearing your-
So Riot, so Callista, your actual birth identity is the disguise, and Riot is your true self. That seems
It's like
right.
Batman.
Are we talking
Yeah, no, that seems completely right.
punk rocker Riot or Priest of Osprey Riot? There's like 10 or 12 different action figures. There's like a scuba version.
Priest of Ostrom Riot,
Okay.
which is not a lot different from Punk Rocker Riot, just wearing nicer clothes.
Gotcha. And he says he's happy to make a few moments for you, but it in truth has to be a few moments. There is much to do. He looks very somber. He looks very defeated for a man that just won a great victory.
So that's fine. I've got a temple to get back to that I haven't seen in a week. Can I ask when was the last time you saw Alice and Alicia?
Let me check my timeline here. He said last time that he saw Nylesia, actually, screw that. He says, forgive me for being blunt. It's been a very long and bloody day. But who are you?
Let's both be blunt. I've been leading a cell investigating Nylesia's whereabouts and actions for the last almost a year now.
And he gets a very sour look on his face. He says, you're an anarchist.
I am.
Many of my friends died today at the hands of anarchists.
Well, that should put us even for all the Harmonium who killed many of my friends over the last year. But I'm not here to argue with you.
He says, you're here
I'm
to
here to
turn
show
yourself in.
I
Very
haven't
good,
done
I'll
anything
direct
wrong.
you to your cell.
I haven't done anything wrong.
He says, you just admitted to being an anarchist. You're a criminal. He says, you need not worry. Justice in Sigil will be much more merciful in the days to come. We'll see that you're well treated. But the days of your kind being inflicted on my streets are over.
I came to you in good faith, in all honesty, and you still haven't answered my question.
He says he's not beholden to answer your question. He says if you had an anarchist cell keeping track of Nylesia's whereabouts, you would know where she is better than he does. He's just glad to be rid of her, essentially, is what you're getting from the conversation.
Right. Were you aware that she's been meeting regularly with Duke Darkwood ever since the breakup?
So, to be clear, though, are you making any move when he starts calling his guards in the room to take you into custody?
Oh, is he actually doing that?
He's absolutely doing that. You walked in and he was starting to doff his armor. Now he's putting it back on.
Mm-hmm.
And he's going to absolutely do that.
Let me see if I got anything to keep them out. I mean, I've got a bunch of things to keep them out, but let me see which of them I'm going to use.
I look at the Paladin spell list, but the chances of him having spell charges left at this point is very, very slim. Slim to
He
zero.
spent them all on smites.
Yeah. Yeah, paladins don't really cast spells all that much.
I feel like Swan's son would have cast a lot of protection spells and things.
Yeah.
He's got this nice spell. It's called Aura Vitality.
Oh, he'd have been smiting Doomguard. Don't get me wrong.
What floor are we on?
Ground level.
Okay. Are there windows in here?
No. Say it's a prison.
Okay.
No, there's no. In fact, you're in an inside. You know, I can just bring up the map of the prison and show you what room you're in.
Yeah.
This is why we're not allied.
You can't
This is
trust
why you
these
don't-
lawful good types. You just can't.
Yeah.
You can't trust them.
No, you really can't.
Lawful.
can't.
It's like the worst alignment. It's like, what's going on here?
Why do you think I picked Level Evil for Khalil?
So the Factals quarters are inside the main curtain. Excuse me, the curtain wall of the prison.
Mm-hmm.
And no, there's no windows in this room. On one side, you've got the door leading out into the hallway. On the other side, you've got a stone wall adjoining the yard.
I'm guessing there's no way to teleport out.
You said there's no way to teleport out. Why do you require line of
Yeah.
sight or something?
No, I'm just assuming that there will be wards up to prevent teleportation in or out.
Make a Wisdom 10 check.
Okay. You know what? I'm gonna put some
Put a little
bard sauce on that.
little steak on that. Okay. Hit it with a splash of the good stuff.
All right. This turns into a 11.
An 11. In the prison proper, in the actual cells, and maybe in the yard itself, possibly, but in the common areas of the prison where business is often done, where you are in the Factals quarter, in these meeting rooms in the lobby, you're not sure.
Okay. In that case, I'm going to cast Mislead first off,
Okay.
so that Fake Riot is standing exactly where I am, and then I'm going to take a few steps off to the right.
That only requires somatic components. All right.
Yeah. I think that was just like Riot drumming on her leg for a minute,
Sure.
for a few seconds. And then I'm just going to continue this. So while you fail to capture me, I'm just going to keep talking at you.
So you probably are you making an escape as you're doing this?
Yeah, Invisible Riot is going to walk around the guards as they come in while the door is still open.
Okay.
And Fake Riot is going to lay out the case for why this is all a problem. And she's going to tie together a bunch of the factual disappearances, Duke Darkwood's his plots, his plans, the fact that Nilesia was almost certainly in on it, the strangeness of letting these particular prisoners go, only then to fight against them later. She's convinced this is all some elaborate plot of Darkwood's, and that he needs to be stopped right now, before things get worse. Or otherwise, his plan will continue, and you won't like what happens.
Make an insight check, but make it a disadvantage, because you are splitting your attention between
Yeah.
talking at him and also not getting arrested by mercy killers.
Okay. So that's going to be a 10, and I'm going to put some bard stick on that. That turns into a 17.
Okay. He's absolutely not sympathetic to your argument.
hmm
You get the sense that Swanson, he just can't see the forest for the trees. What he sees is an opportunity for his faction in particular, and if he has any understanding of any of the bigger picture stuff you're laying out for him, he's not concerning himself with it.
Okay. And I say, and if all you want to do is treat this as an opportunity for your faction, that's fine. I came to you for help. But make no mistake, my faction has an opportunity here too.
And then what happens when the guards try to grab Fake Riot?
She's an illusion, so whatever happens when they try to grab an illusion.
And where's Invisible Riot when that happens?
Way down the hall. Like as
So-
far away as she possibly can have been.
The illusion doesn't buy you a lot of time, but it buys you just enough to slip away.
Yeah.
And you...
I could teleport. Actually, I think I will teleport. Just
Okay.
back to the temple.
Okay. And then Kelian,
Yes,
our
sir.
last one still in a dangerous situation for tonight. So you were telling Darkwood you didn't think you were going to go along with this, like everything's telling you not to do this, and then he had enough and was about to smite you down. He moved forward to strike you and then vanished. And the last thing you heard him say was, "No, not now!" And then that was it for Darkwood. And now you're alone in this cold, dark room with a single candle on the floor. In
There's
silence.
no I don't see the lady or anything. He's just vanished.
He's just gone. I mean, are
Alright.
you? Would you prefer if the lady was in the room with you?
Just sitting in the
No.
chair.
But I'm making sure because, we may have pissed her off in another instance. So, I'm surprised both of us weren't mazed.
Oh man, wouldn't that be the worst for Kelian? Mazed with Darkwood for the rest of time.
Oh my god. No, see.
And it would be the worst for Darkwood, too.
Yep.
So what's
Suddenly-
what's next for
Wait,
Kelian?
you-
Kelian takes out a cigarette, goes over to the candle, lights a cigarette, takes a very long, relaxing drag from it,
Okay.
kicks the candle to the door.
Kicks the candle to the door.
Yeah.
Are you trying to
He's
light
gonna
the
set
door
the-
on fire?
Yes, he's setting the place on fire.
So, I mean, it's a great stone room, and that little candle's probably not gonna.
Is it? It's not. There's
Wait.
not like wood anywhere or anything.
It's it's
But
stone
again-
construction. I mean,
Ugh.
this is they don't have modern architecture. It's not like a giant glass or steel building.
I want to burn it down.
If there were still tapestries and stuff in here, make an insight check.
I can do that.
Make a dungeoneering check.
My mouse doesn't work anymore, and I don't really know why. I think it's just broken because I just replaced the battery and it's still not working.
Turns
so.
into a 10 because I got double proficiency. So 24.
Your guess, if you didn't know better, you'd think that Darkwood saw this was a long time coming. And it looks like his last few days were spent in like abject paranoia. It's like his room being devoid of anything.
I mean, it's there's nothing in here, so I mean, he knew. Yeah, I also deduced that.
What
that he knew this was
surprises
coming,
you,
just
though-
not right now at this moment.
What surprises you, though, is that clearly something he was doing was working. Because he didn't get mazed until just this moment. So whatever he's been doing, and preparing his protections or whatever, was working against the Lady of Pain for at least this long. So what's next for Kelian?
I don't suppose I can find any sort of doors or hidden passageways in this room, can I? Or I can make an attempt.
Yeah, you can make an attempt. Make an intelligence investigation check.
I'm so good at those. That doesn't automatically turn into a 10, whatever it is. Oh! 5.
5?
Yeah.
Okay. No, I mean, you do once over of the walls, but I mean, halfway through, you're like, Darkwood is not the kind of guy who would want a secret passage coming directly into his office. That's not his style.
Oh. I mean, my deduction is that if he's been working and Lady of Pain hasn't been able to get to him, that means he probably hasn't been in Sigil? Or
Except he clearly was.
Something greater.
At least tonight.
tonight he was. Hmm. I'm still in this bloody room.
A couple of methods of
Let's,
egress from the room is, I mean, you've got the door that you came in.
Right.
There are shuttered windows overlooking the street, but you are, as we said, very high up.
Very high up. That would almost certainly kill me. Let's go.
So, like in the last campaign, you gave the rogue a magic invisibility button. You give me no invisibility button.
You gave me a bat of the cloak, and I completely lost it, so it's fine. Or cloak of the bat. That's what. Because English is good.
It's hard. I know.
It's hard.
Eesh.
Kelian shouts, "Oh my God! It's the lady!" And he waits.
And he waits. And you start hearing pounding at the door as the men are unable to open it. And they start yelling out, "Duke, open the door!"
Don't hurt me! Don't hurt me! And after a few more moments, Kelian goes and he opens the door
Okay.
with a expression on his face. I think the lady, she... And he leaves it at that.
And then what, you faint?
No, he trails off.
Okay. Make a...
Is this performance or deception, do you think?
That's what I'm mulling over. I'm gonna go with... Well, what's better for Kelian?
His deception is plus 14. His
it's
performance is 9.
It's not literally a deception, because it's probably true that he just watched the Duke get mazed. You can go ahead and make the deception. Because you're trying to claim that you actually saw the lady in the room.
That turns into a 10, because I got double proficiency in deception, so that's 24.
Okay. And I mean, they exchange confused glances. One looks at the other and says, "Go find the factotum," which would be the next in command. And he scampers off to do such that. The other one looks at you, says, "You, wait here. Don't move from this spot." And then he runs off in the opposite direction, leaving you there with the open door.
Yeah, as soon as they're gone, I'm gonna get the fuck out of there. Are you kidding?
Make a stealth check.
Make a stealth check?
Yeah.
Oh, he's not very good at these. Please roll a 1. It's Kelian, you gotta do it. It was getting there.
It wouldn't matter.
27.
Yeah, 1 still becomes a 10.
I know, I was kidding.
27.
27. You managed to get back out of the Howl of Records more or less unseen. Not seen by anybody important, anyway. Although the amount of activity in the place is starting to kick up. A lot of the people who are marshaled here are soldiers of the Fated, which Kelian had previously investigated and found that Darkwood was amassing considerable military force here on the grounds. It looks like now that the main fighting is over in the Ladies' Ward, and smaller skirmishes are starting to spill out into other places in the city, that aspect of the Fated's military is starting to take charge to make sure that doesn't actually get onto the Hollow Records ground. It wouldn't do to have our nicely mowed grass trampled on, etc. And then where do you go after that?
Let's go back to the temple.
And where is Riot going after she escapes the prison?
Alright, Riot teleported to the temple after she
To
escaped.
the temple, okay. Where's Liberation ending up?
At the temple with Izena.
Oh, that's right, because I even made a crack about it. You're bringing the evil succubus to the... what about Nath? You're headed to the gatehouse.
Yep.
Okay. And where was Mahogany going?
I was heading back to the gymnasium.
Okay. So our last thing that we'll do for tonight, now that I know where everybody's starting next week, you guys reconvene at the temple. Kelian limps back after his strange occurrence. Riot, you show up just automatically. But by the time you guys get back to the temple, the victory's already been won. Most of the major fighting is done, and it's now getting very late into evening. Liberation, do you tell anybody who this person is? Because she still has this beggar lady facade up.
No.
Okay. Just somebody that needs protection?
Kelian's reaction is, of course this is a thing. Of course it is.
Liberation found a stray.
Kelian, do you share with the other two what transpired during your meeting?
Absolutely.
Holy shit.
He leaves out the... No, he'll tell everything.
Okay.
He'll bring up the stone and how he was pretty 100% confident that the lady mazed him, that mazed Darkwood.
You know, of course my faction doesn't have leaders, but those who pass seem to have all disappeared as well.
Yeah. No, this was a Rowan Darkwood machination.
I
And
heard through Father Mondo that the Bleakers factal's gone too.
The thing that... So if Darkwood... If he set all of these events in motion to remove all of the factal heads, he also got caught up in it.
What do you think he was talking about with his stone?
Well,
Do you think there was anything to that, or is he just more of his raving?
the answer probably right upstairs with
Yeah.
that barmy idiot.
Oh, Eldov? Oh, I gave... Eldov is staying in your old room, Kelian, by the way. I don't know where you're going to sleep tonight, but it's not going to be there.
Of course he is. Of course he is.
And about this time,
Kelian, are you dead?
one of the acolytes raps gently on the door. And he's sorry to disturb you. I know it's very late and it's been a long day for everyone, but there are some men here to see Lady Riot.
Alright, I'll go see him.
Kelian picks up his crossbow, puts a bolt in it, follows after Riot.
Are you going downstairs? Or are you
And
coming-
Riot notices this and is like, oh, are more of Lady Lycris' people here for you, Kelian? Would you like
Guess
to
we're
answer
go-
the door?
I guess we're gonna find out.
Riot, at the mention of Lady Lycris, you see that this beggar woman that Liberation's carrying around shrinks back at the name. Like, noticeably, when you mention Lycris, this beggar woman clearly knows who you're referring to. So you go
That's
downstairs. The men that come to meet you, there's a group of 7 of them. And a lot of Githzerai at first glance. And the man at the door, he's very well dressed. Mostly black clothes, the kind of clothes you'd wear to just blend into anywhere. And he says, oh, finally, we've been trying for a couple of days now, and they keep telling me that you're not in. I don't know what kind of priestess doesn't reside in her temple, but I'm glad to finally see you face to face.
I'm a missionary. I often go off-plane.
And he turns and says, okay, she's here. And all of the Githzerai with him turn around, and they are all Factal Quran.
What does that mean?
It means that there's the one man you're speaking to dressed in black, and then Factal Quran, and Factal Quran,
Okay.
and then Factal Quran, and then the other 3 are Quran, Quran, and Quran.
Okay, that clears it up. Thank you.
It's my favorite band in the 80s, Quran.
And now I have to hang myself. So we're going to leave it there for the week. So next week when we pick it up for part 2 of Everything Goes to Shit in Sigil.
AKA a Tuesday.
When we pick it up, Nath is going to be going to the gatehouse. Mahogany is returning to the gym, and Kelian, Riot, and Liberation are going to party with Quran, and Quran. All right, I'm going to go set up a straw poll here. Did you guys enjoy all the fake combat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had fun with the fake out combats. That was fun for me. Next week we probably won't get through everything without busting some heads.
So, who furthered the party's goals the most tonight?
I don't know what the party's goals were tonight, honestly.
Yeah.
They were extremely disparate.
I think probably Nath did the most to further somebody's goals.
Sure. I buy that.
Yeah, he's probably the one that made the most headway.
He did the things that most of us care about.
Yes.
Okay.
And who's the most creative tonight?
Turtles.
No,
Turtle,
I
yeah.
liked it when. Stop it. I mean, don't get me wrong, the turtles were very good. But I liked
But you
Riot's ditching out on literally the current head of the Harmonium, which correct me if I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure Riot's been looking for that opportunity this entire game.
I would call that badass how she skated out of there.
That
Yeah,
was
I'd be okay.
pretty badass.
I'd be okay
Yeah,
with taking
I'm okay with that.
But I think
Really
creative
nice.
is definitely the turtles.
I enjoyed actually
What?
Kelian pretending like the Lady of Pain actually showed up.
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
pretty good.
That's good.
No, yeah, I think that should win creative.
Yeah.
So Kelian for creative. And
Riot
Riot,
for
for badass. So, I don't think there was any chance of Riot actually getting arrested one way or the other.
No,
Right.
has a million tricks up her sleeve.
Yeah. Then there's one for intangibles.
I liked it that the person that God knows the rest of us couldn't give three shits about. The first thing he does when he comes back, oh, we should go check in with Father Mondo.
And
You know
followed
that
up-
level 0 priest? Let's go see what he's up to.
Oh, remember that succubus everyone thought was dead? Well, I've taken her in as a pet now.
She belongs to me.
Yeah, I think Liberation's Home for Strays is the intent this week.
So, the next question I'm going to ask is usually especially during a roleplay session, I keep notes about your guys' actions to give out experience blips for alignment flaw and faction. But, in case you hadn't noticed, we are now knee-deep in the faction war adventure.
Yeah,
Really? I
I
hadn't
so-
noticed.
A little bit.
I think it would be appropriate to let you guys make your case for your own faction blip. Because at this point, your characters need to be thinking about where their loyalties actually lie, how strong of a member of their faction should they be, especially in the face of completely missing leadership. If they have the opportunity to reshape the faction, what it should look like, what the faction's goals should be, and what you're doing to bring those about. So we're going to go down the lists. Who wants to start? Who wants to be our guinea pig?
I'll go.
Riot, your faction is the Revolutionary League.
Mm-hmm.
So what does Riot see as the anarchists' goal during the faction war?
I thought about this because I had a lot of downtime this session because Riot wasn't involved in any conflict. And I thought about it a lot, and I think what Riot is going to do because she told her cell member to get everybody together,
Mm-hmm.
and her directions once that happens are going to be spread out, put the word out that this isn't happening by coincidence. This is the end of factions, and if you don't want to get caught up in what's happening, you'd better leave your faction right now. Because Riot's take. So we saw two anarchist assassins this week, right? And that's certainly one way that anarchists could capitalize on faction war, which is it's open season on all the factions and or on all the factals and factotums and leaderships and everybody. Now is the time for everybody to strike. But that's not the kind of anarchist Riot is. Riot wants to convince everybody that the best way to be is to pursue your own goals as an in-depth. And so the more people she can get to the more people whose minds and hearts she can win over, that's Riot's dream of what anarchists are.
Okay.
Is to convince people that the way forward to Sigil is for people to dismantle the power structures.
And what's her opinion on these anarchist cell leaders that have just straight up vanished? Like, what is her opinion on what happened to those people?
Riot's assumption, I think, is that because, well, I mean, her own field leader did disappear. Riot's a little bit paranoid right now because she's worried that, like, we don't have a factal. I was kind of a leader in the anarchists, sort of. Is Lady Gun Pain going to be coming for me too?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
So she like anxiety then?
Yeah.
Because unlike my companions, like I might actually be on the chopping block.
Right.
I'm sorry the poll's late, guys. I pasted it in, but my laptop needed an injection of internet. There's a poll link there. Sorry about that. Go ahead and place your votes. Okay. Liberation.
Hey,
As far as you know, at this point, at the flashpoint of the violence, there's not a lot of godsmen caught up in it. That's kind of
No.
not their thing. However, in the coming days, and this has already started a little bit, the godsmen are almost certainly going to come down on the side of the Harmonium. The side that wants to preserve law and order in Sigil. The godsmen's job in the city is to work the forge, is to create things of use and things of beauty. And they can't do that if existing power structures are torn down or made unreliable. So what does Liberation see as far as his role in the coming days in the Godsmen, especially now that Factal Ambar is gone?
as far as the faction goes, Liberation is concerned, obviously, because he's got his own, like, I guess not really a sect or anything like that, but just the people that he's come to know through his work with the faction as just as people, not really just about the faction. Just, he's more worried about the loss of life that this power struggle will bring, and he wants to preserve life more than anything.
Okay. And that's a very common goal amongst the Godsmen.
Mm.
What is
And I mean-
Liberation's... Most of the Godsmen believe that Ambar has transcended. He completed his trials in his current life, and he has transcended to whatever awaits mortals when they achieve perfection, basically. What's Liberation's take? What does he think?
Liberation is not convinced of that by any means because of the things that he's heard about the other factions, either secondhand through scuttlebutt or through evidence like what Kelian said that of seeing Duke Darkwood vanish before his eyes. Like the idea that Ambar is transcended is not like it doesn't feel right to him because of the evidence he's heard.
So what is he
And-
thinking? Is he dead, kidnapped, mazed?
A little of all three, possibly. Like any one of those could be plausible at this point.
Okay. Kelian.
Yes, sir.
So far, the Fated have stayed out of the fighting. They were not.
Have they?
They were not.
Have they?
They were not a major player at the armory. Most of their military strength was kept keeping their own grounds and their own people safe. And officially, the Fated have taken no side. If you had
Sure.
to run the numbers, though, in the coming days, they will almost certainly, when their choice is forced upon them, they will almost certainly come down on the side of the Indepth's anarchist Doomguard, if for no reason other than that's the opposite side from the Sensates. the typical Fated perspective would be which side has the most wealth. Let's be on the other side, so when we win, we stand to gain the most. What's Kelian think? This is kind of a unique question because your character knows for sure that there's more to the story, but
Yeah, and that affect because he knows more to the story. That affects how he views himself as a taker.
there's also this thing about how Kelian is trying to set up a planner sect, like the capitalists out on the Outlands.
Yeah, I'm glad you remembered.
That'll factor into this too, I'm sure.
Yeah, a little bit.
Does Kelian have any intention on being a war profiteer?
I don't know.
PMCs, baby. Let's go.
And here's what I'm struggling with, right?
Yeah.
He has now saved Eldov twice, right?
Okay.
And he's not usually in the business of saving people. He's usually in the other end of the business, which is
Right.
killing people, right? So this is sort of new to him. Kelian, on any other given day, we're just like, yeah, war profiteering? That sounds awesome. But he theoretically sacrificed the whole magnitude of deal wealth and everything because of this schmuck Eldov, whom he doesn't know, and he doesn't know why he rescued him 2 times. And all because some stranger keeps appearing every now and then with a funny hat saying, "Oh, you should do these things." So he's kind of wrestling with all of that at the moment.
Okay.
And it's sort of affected his views as a taker. Like that's the only, no pun intended, takeaway from that.
No, it's too late.
So is Kelian Kelian's convinced that Darkwood pulled the trigger on this? This is somehow all Darkwood's doing.
Yes, everything. This is all Darkwood. This is all a grand Darkwood scheme, and he's pretty sure that the Fated, if they're not going to collapse now, but they're going to collapse later because of it.
So, that actually raises one final question then. Kelian was looking to create a new sect and then draw members of the Fated. Is this an opportunity for him
Oh,
to
yeah, I
help
guess it
tear
is,
this
isn't it?
old faction down and build a new
I guess
one?
it is, isn't it? Yeah.
That's like the ultimate Fated thing to do. That's literally what Darkwood did. He walked into town and says, "I run the faction." Nath, you must be feeling some strange conflict.
Yeah.
Because on one hand, the Harmonium were trying to preserve law and order in the city, but on the other hand, they had to do it through great violence.
I mean, the taking down the armory doesn't sit too poorly with him, having gotten better understanding of the exact situation. There weren't really any bystanders. These were literally people handing out weapons to the most dangerous people in the city. Like, that doesn't really sit heavily on his conscience. He's just concerned about elements within the Harmonium that would use this to then further, impose martial law, basically. Like, that is the last thing he wants to see happen.
Okay. That would also be a very difficult thing for the Harmonium to do. I mean, they have a lot of manpower, but Sigel's a big place.
Right. Well, I mean, it doesn't have to be complete. He doesn't want the idea that the regular patrol runs around and people are afraid of them, like they have been sometimes, and especially in the Bazaar. And the Indepts are probably the group he's most concerned about.
Okay. So Nath
just because there's a lot of historical friction there, and Nath also have to remind you he hates this city. just to be clear.
Nath, Nath has not been in a position yet to get any good report on what happened to most of the factuals that have been mazed, but it's looking that way, except 2 factions, the Governors and now the Harmonium, lost their factuals to death and not the Lady's punishment. What does he make of that?
Once he figures out that the other ones have all been mazed, or at least some of them. Honestly, he'd have to investigate.
Okay.
Like, he'd actually have to try and figure out who was responsible for it, and then try and work backwards from why they weren't mazed.
Draw no conclusion until he's looked into it, then.
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
there's a reason he has those 2 anarchists on triple guard.
And then as far as Nath seizing any opportunities to shape the direction of his faction in Sigil, what are
Oh,
his thoughts on
absolutely.
that?
I mean, he's going to try and turn this hideous branch of the Harmonium around. I mean, it's a terrible tragedy, but it's also a nice opportunity for him.
Okay. Mahogany.
All right, before you start,
Uh-huh.
this is our opportunity to argue for getting our faction blip.
Yeah.
I just opened up a fortune cookie and got the fortune. Trust your intuition. The universe is guiding your life.
I don't believe that for a second. There's no way. That would
I
be
will send you a cell phone picture.
that's
With the current newspaper.
that's almost as ridiculous as McDohl rolling 2 ones simultaneously. So
Wait, did you just have fortune cookies just laying around?
I got Chinese earlier.
Okay.
officially, the ciphers have taken no side in the violence yet. But in the coming days, I mean, knowing how your faction operates, traditionally they're soft allies with the Harmonium. They almost always come down on the side of maintaining peace and order in the city. If the violence is over, now that the weapons are seized, that's probably the side that most ciphers are going to gravitate towards. And Mahogany is going to attempt to keep the ciphers from doing that. Try to keep them neutral for as long as
I'm going to try to
possible.
keep us neutral as long as possible. And specifically, the thing that I'm watching for is the Harmonium deciding that this is the opportunity to move into the Bazaar again.
Okay.
Because on that side, if that happens, we're going to be on the side of the Indeps for that encounter.
Okay. And what is Mahogany's thoughts on Reese? Reese was the first factal. She, you know that they tell you nobody's seen her in 7 days. That's longer than the reports of the other factions. It seems like she was the first one to vanish. What's Mahogany's thoughts?
Mahogany has 2 thoughts on the matter,
Okay.
which is it's very hard for him to believe that Reese got mazed because he knows how in tune she is with the universe. It is, however, much easier for him to believe that she did in fact transcend because he knows Reese would never transcend without accomplishing everything she needed to on this plane, and we just rescued Horndorfen.
So your thought is like
People.
we just captured the last of her ghosts. That's
Yeah.
all she had to do. So Mahogany believes she's transcended.
He thinks that's more likely than her being mazed.
Okay.
Alternately, the fact that he doesn't think that all the factors and all that going on down to him would all get mazed, so it's possible Reese has some crazy plot going on.
Okay. All right, let's give out some. We'll give out some blippies here. Everybody's taking their faction blip.
Okay.
So Kelian's taking the creative. Nath took the assists. Riot is taking the badass. Liberation is taking the intangibles. And I also gave out 3 blips this session. I gave 1 to Riot for her flaw. I don't trust anyone but me not to fuck everything up. She started asking Kelian for his opinion about the contract, and when it became clear that Kelian was not going to be helpful, she just decided to go ahead and take charge and sign it. And the reason I'm awarding the blip is that seemed like kind of a quick pull on that trigger dealing with this Arcanoloth. I really hope that doesn't come back to bite her. I awarded Nath his alignment blip. Law and good are one entity. There's a harmonious, correct way to act. I gave you that because you made the passionate case of the correct thing to do now is not just end the violence, but also make sure that people have the supplies that they need. Anybody who's been dispossessed by this violence. And I gave Mahogany his faction blip, specifically for neutrality is mediation, specifically for getting rid of his colors before wading into battle. That was a decision made personally, and the other ciphers that follow you also made it personally, and your goal is literally to mediate all of this nonsense.
At some point, unless everyone dies, they're going to need to come to the table, and Mahogany's goal is to preserve the cipher's ability to be a neutral party to guide that.
All right. And that's going to bring us to... straw poll blip. Kelian won the straw poll this week. I'm assuming for the good times with Mr. Darkwood. I mean, was it a kick in the pants that you didn't get to fight Darkwood? That he just...
Why? He's what? Level 20? You said he's level 20 in every... I think I'm okay, actually.
Okay. And we managed to finish the session 3 minutes before McDohl turns into a pumpkin. Go up.
Was the only EXP blips?
Yeah, I didn't award any combat EXP this
Then
session.
I will point out that since I leveled, the blips are worth 2,000.
Yes.
Oh.
That is correct.
Do we need to take an action to level? Because I've been over EXP for a while.
Yeah.
It still takes an action to level, so if you want to level up, you're going to have to find time during all this faction war to do it. I'm not actually running the entire faction war adventure. The book is 150 pages long, which is why we're fast-tracking a lot of this stuff. But, like, a lot of this stuff is supposed to happen in the background while you're doing other adventures. But I thought it would be fun to be like, oh, you guys are going to go back to Sigil, do some shopping, lick your wounds. Nope, there's explosions, have fun with the body parts.